Hi everyone, my name's John Searles, and thank you for visiting my GoFundMe page. Um, I've never done this before because I've really been skeptical and always raised never to ask strangers for anything. I guess kind of suffer in silence, and that's what I've been doing, um, suffering in silence. And I think that I've had enough of suffering alone. And today of all days, especially Thanksgiving, definitely draws up a lot of emotions for me. The fact that I'm not close with my family, my mom and my dad, um, it does it does make me feel a little bit more depressed and sad at this point. And especially the way things are going, and I will get into that briefly. But before I do, I would like to give you guys a little bit of a background about myself and why it is that I'm actually making this video. And it took a lot of courage and strength out of me to make this video because um, for a long time I seen myself as being weak for ever asking for anything. I come from a background where it's definitely tough love. You go out and you get yours, and that's kind of how it is. And for me personally, I I've struggled a lot in my life, and I've always tried to make it look like I'm okay, I'm doing okay, especially in front of my peers and others as well that know me and that will be viewing this video. I think this will definitely be an insight to definitely my life and sharing a bit more. Um, so I would just like to begin pretty much about letting you guys know about my past. At the age of 3, my mom, I was taken away from my mother because she was a user, a drug addict, and an alcoholic. And I was taken away from her at the age of 3. And what happened was she took me to my dad's mom's house, which was my grandmother, and dropped me off for about a few hours or so, trying to come back and pick me up. Um, and when she returned, I wasn't there. My grandmother had given me away to the foster, to the police, because she believed that I wasn't my dad's son biologically. Um, and so, excuse me, I've never really told this story. It's something that's really been dear to me, and um, it's a struggle for me to have to open up, especially to strangers. But I think that I would like for this story to be definitely more empowering than you guys taking pity on me or even on myself. So, like I said, my grandmother had given me away at the age of 3, and my mom obviously wasn't happy about that. Um, but my grandmother knew that my mom wasn't stable, and she didn't have anybody else. Um, Quick little fact: when I was born, I was uh, um, there was no one else in the room besides my mother and I. And for those that know me, know that I come from a big family, and so my mom, she's obviously struggled herself, and um, so when she found out that she wasn't, um, I wasn't able to come back to her, she definitely lost it. She did, however, have her sister adopt me legally, and so I grew up with my mom's sister and her husband. Um, and that was a situation in itself too. I lived with I think about 14 or 15 other people in a 4-bedroom house. So growing up, we pretty much had no space for even us, even the kids. I didn't have a bedroom for a very long time, and it was hard, but I didn't know anything else, and all I knew was that I was going to be positive throughout it, even if it took me, you know, some time, I guess. But what happened was that growing up with my auntie and my uncle, they tried the best that they could, given that they worked all the time. We definitely lived in some type of facade, I think. We looked like we had everything, but really we didn't. You know, we had like kind of like no pot to piss in. And at a young age, I was definitely observant of all of this. I didn't speak much, but I definitely knew what was going on at a young age. Um, and so with that, that taught me to pretty much stick to myself. I didn't feel like my family really loved me. I'll be honest. I didn't feel like they believed in me. Um, Especially growing up in a household of more than like 13 people, you know, you can kind of get lost in that. And I think that's exactly what it was for me. And the fact that, you know, I wasn't really my aunties or uncles' kids, and that definitely showed. There was definitely favoritism, you know, and so growing up for me was really hard. I didn't really stick with my family. I sticked with my friends, and I tried to just find anybody that really, you know, wanted to listen to me and like wanted for me to do good in life. And um, you know, out of the 13 people or 14, 15 people that lived together in the household with me at a young age, no one had even graduated from high school. So just to kind of give you a background and let you know like where I was at, you know what I mean? Like here I am, I'm soaking up things like a sponge and trying to learn. And you know, I'm kind of being put in this household where, you know, education isn't really important, and not really having a passion is important. Really just having a job is. And that wasn't really for me. And so at a young age when I knew that, you know, I definitely didn't want to feel like I was trying to be better than anybody, because I knew the difference. I knew that I wanted more even at a young age. It just was going to take some time to get there. Um, and so with that being said, after a while, you know, growing up there was really kind of intense. And all throughout school, I made it look like I was just, you know, so cool and collective. Um, but really, you know, I was really struggling, and I was really going through a lot. And but luckily, I had my friends who were like family to me, and I think that's the only way I got out of it. Really, was because of them. Excuse me, I'm not gonna try to get too emotional, but uh, I really, really um, wouldn't have made it without the love of like my teachers and my friends. I put myself through school, even like through high school, like through everything. Uh, and by that I mean I had to make all my adult decisions, all the adult decisions myself. As far as like what school I wanted to go to and how I was going to even write a personal statement, and just everything really out of high school, I guess you could say. Um, and you know, I was already struggling still with my family growing up. Even then, um, my father was in jail at the time when um, my grandmother had given me away. Um, and so they had did a, you know, a blood test while he was in prison, and you know, come to find out that I was actually his son. And so when that happened, he definitely tried to come around more, but of course I was living with my auntie and uncle at the time, and he tried to visit me and he tried to call, and I think it was definitely, you know, that was his way of showing that he cared, um, and I'm very appreciative of that, of my father reaching out in that way. But as I got older, you know, I realized that money doesn't doesn't equal love. You know what I mean? money doesn't equal love. And with my mother, she, of course, was still a drug addict and still an alcoholic. So whenever she tried to come around, it was pretty much like a Tasmanian devil. I mean, you didn't really want to be around because of her energy. And, she would hit people and say the most outlandish things to you. And especially to me growing up, there was a lot of times when she would say, I wish you would just come, you would, kind of, excuse me, you guys. Um, she would kind of say, I wish you would come back. I wish you would go back into my asshole. If I'm sorry, yeah. But that's what she would say. And, it hurt my feelings as a kid, because I didn't understand why my mother was speaking to me in this type of tone or in that type of way. Um, and so, I had to make the decision for myself to get away from her and to not, keep a connection with her. And that was really tough, because my mom, one side of her, she was definitely loving, but the other side of her was, just kind of pure evil type of situation. And I think it was because how she was raised. Um, and so growing up like that was really tough for me, um, and having to play like everything was okay. And I realized I had that same habit of like what my family was going through, the whole fake facade is trying to keep up with the Joneses, having the nice house, having the nice car and the nice furniture. But in reality, no one's happy in that home. And sorry, you guys, it's really tough to talk about this now, because I'm in a better space. I realize that my struggle is beautiful. Um, but, it took me a long time to realize the beauty of it. At first, it was just ugly to me. I didn't want to talk about this. I felt like somebody like me who people nowadays look up to and respect, because of the work that I'm trying to do for myself as far as being a leader in my community. People, sometimes are really appalled by, or not appalled, but just drawn back the fact that I had, was really um, raised in a really dysfunctional household, and I came out okay, and I think it was for the grace of God, to be honest. Um, Even when I was, at my lowest, I've always kept God with me, and I've always kept my spirituality, and I've always believed in myself, because I knew that, you know, if I stayed focused and if I stayed positive throughout everything, then everything would work out. And I've been staying positive for a very long time. Even then, since I was 3 years old, you guys, and that happened to me. I've been, just trying to keep going. And, I will be honest, not having my parents there is really tough. Um, it's been it's been very tough. I've always wanted my, father's approval. When I was living with my auntie, like throughout school, almost throughout high school, um, they were moving, and I did not want to move with them. And on top of that, I just kind of had enough of the way I was being raised. One of the things I also want to bring out was my father, did try to take care of me. He tried to provide child support. And growing up, I did, live in a household of 15 people. And I think my auntie, she tried her best to try to take care of everybody, with what she was given. But, you know, there was times when I needed stuff for like sports that I played, or, the the clubs that I was on, and just wanting to do things in school. And really, I couldn't do that, or even wanted to get like my teeth fixed or get my teeth cleaned and things like that. Um, they didn't really happen because she would tell us that she would tell me that she didn't have the money, but I knew that child support would come in. But I never wanted to argue because I knew that money was always an issue for my family, and I knew that I didn't want to argue with them about that. So like I said, I had to grow up at a really young age and just try to take care of myself to the best ability, and it was tough. It's still tough growing up now. Um, so just to kind of give you guys a little backtrack about my life. So at this point, I am 17 and excuse me, I'm in school at this point. And I'm living with my father because I moved from my auntie and uncle's house. And the reason why I had did that was because I had wanted to get very close to my father. And I think that like we were both in a good place, it seemed like at the time when we had communication, that we were going to be okay. But I will be honest, I did have one big secret that I didn't tell anybody while growing up, and that was I was gay. um, and my father is very masculine, and he is, he doesn't approve of, same-sex marriage or just anything really with gayness. And so that took a lot for me too. I had to suppress myself underneath his roof. And, I'm gonna say this, like I struggled even more. And I don't know why I did that to myself. I knew that I wanted my father. I knew that I knew that I needed him. I knew that I needed some type of male role model figure in my life. And so I lived with my father, and I lived with him, and I didn't even spend probably no quality time with him. I'm sorry, you guys, but we didn't spend any quality time together. Me living underneath his house for about I think 3 to 4 years, and I struggled with myself with that. I didn't understand why, I had sacrificed myself, and my father, didn't really approve of me or didn't really receive me while growing up underneath his house. And, I remember crying. I remember just being so hurt every day in talking to my family members about, why does my dad act this way? I don't understand why I'm being treated this way. I was trying to do everything that I could as far as like getting his approval, doing good in school. I had even been, recognized in the newspaper a few times as well, as far as like developing support groups, and also just like an educational setting too. So, I would always try to, win his approval with these things of my achievements, and it just never worked. It never worked. And when he found out that I was gay, I think that was definitely the straw of it all. I think for him, it just was it. He couldn't take it, and I couldn't take it either. When he found that I was gay, I remember him coming to my room and him trying to like make fun of the whole thing, but really, how can you, but I'll tell you guys this, the last thing that I remember him ever telling me through that whole conversation was, how come you just couldn't own a gun? Like, how come I couldn't just be a thug? And I don't even know why my father would have responded like that to me, given that I'm his flesh and blood, but he did. And, I don't really know what to say about that. But, I never let it get to me. I never let him get to me. And I never wanted to closet myself or shut down after that. So I think at that point I was just trying to be okay with who I was. The fact that like the only person in this world who I looked up to, who I respected the most, you know, I didn't want him to know anything that was like a secret of me that was bad. But in reality, you know, I couldn't hide any much longer. I couldn't. And on top of that, I was trying to please everybody, and I haven't even been pleased myself. Like, I'm only 17, you know, and I'm doing the most with trying to take care of my father and take care of my mom and trying to please them. And it didn't really make sense. And I didn't really want to live like that anymore. So, um, I had fell in love with someone, and we moved in together. I left my father's house. I left him a note. I didn't even say goodbye because of the situation, you know. And even before that, as a matter of fact, I was seeing someone at the time, and he had come over to visit, and we were going to head out soon. And I was in my room, and my friend was there as well. And my father comes in, and he never knocked, by the way. I didn't even have a door lock on my, I didn't have a door lock. He took it off. So just to kind of let you guys know, like, the privacy, there was no privacy pretty much growing up. For me, even never having a room, to getting to my father's house and having a room, and him just taking off the locks and not trusting me. And, you know, I felt very humiliated, and I felt like an animal in my own home, and especially from like the people who were supposed to love me. Um, but, you know, I tried to stay positive. I tried to stay positive after everything. And so when I got the courage to leave my father's house, you know, I made sure everything was gone before he had even been there. And so I moved in with my boyfriend, and everything was great. You know, it started out nice. Um, but lo and behold, my boyfriend started to be controlling. And mind you, I had actually moved from a town already to be with this person. So I guess from a young age, I had just known to that, you know, I would have to kind of sacrifice myself, if that makes sense. I've known that I've always had to just give up myself for others, and just hoping that somebody will return the favor. And it's never been like that. And I think that's why I'm really skeptical of making this video now, is because I don't I don't believe that. But what I do believe is that, you know, if you're doing right by people and yourself and the world, then that's all that matters. And so that's what I've always stuck with, you know, to myself when I went through all these situations. I've always prided myself on the fact that at least I was trying to be pure. At least that from all the darkness that I've been through, at least I'm still trying to give people light. So the relationship did not work out with that guy. It pretty much turned to really being abusive, um, and controlling, because I had moved away, um, to this person, you know, where they were already located. I guess, you know, for them it felt like maybe they felt in control of me. And, you know, I didn't have family as it was, and here I am, you know, depending on this person to love me, and I'm, you know, wanting to love them too. And you know, they had a lot of issues, especially with their parents, of wanting to accept them of being gay. And it took a lot on him as well as me. Um, and once I realized that the relationship wasn't going to work out because the person was too controlling, and at the end of the day, I've always wanted to be a leader. I've always wanted to help other people out, even though I've always struggled myself. That's always been my thing. But that person, pretty much had a silver spoon in their mouth, and of course did not want to share with others. And so, I love that person dearly, but I realized that wasn't my soulmate. And so when I had made the decision to leave, that's when things got worse. Um, I was actually bitten on my neck and pushed down to the ground in the closet and bitten on my neck. And I tried to leave, and that didn't work. Um, and there was a few times where the police were called on me for wanting to leave, and I didn't get violent. I really just wanted to leave because I knew that I already had been through drama with my life, or excuse me, with my own family, and I didn't want that in my life growing up. But it followed me, and I definitely wanted to get out of that relationship, and so I did. And I'll be honest, I got out of that relationship, but in the nick of time, to be honest. I got really depressed because I didn't understand why I had given up so much of my life and personal life and just everything. And people told me, you shouldn't have done it, and that's not real love. And I'm like, well, I need to make my own decisions. But I did it anyway. And so we had split up. And when I tried to go retrieve my belongings, I had actually he told me that actually, he got rid of everything. And that was devastating. Mind you, I didn't have a lot to deal with. What I really wanted was my photo albums of my family members who had passed away, because I was the photographer at that, from like a very young age. I loved cameras. And so I took pictures of all my, my family members and things like that. And, he got rid of them. And so that was really devastating. That was the most hurtful thing. I was like, wow, I can't believe that you would hurt me even more, on top of hurting me. But he did. And, it took a lot of forgiveness for myself and for him to get over everything. And I did. And, I got myself back together. I moved back to San Francisco, and I got back, on my feet, and I started to do me again. And then I got into another relationship where it seemed very promising from the get-go, like my soulmate, but it didn't necessarily turn out that way after a while. My current ex-boyfriend had put me through a lot of strife. He put me through a lot. I felt really depressed. Well, I was really depressed. I had checked myself into the hospital because I had felt like I was having a nervous breakdown with everything. I just felt like everything was coming all at once, from my past as a childhood, to what I'm telling you now. And I just felt like I have never been given a break. I'm 27 now, and I'll be 28 next month. And I do everything on my own. And, I have family, but they don't support me. And I don't understand why, because I try to be such a good person. And if it's tough love, then it's brutal love. But, what I'm learning now is that I have to do what's best for me. And I hope that you guys can definitely relate to me and understand, my struggle. I'm sorry that this has been going on for almost 30 minutes. I think that, like, really, it's my life. And I wish I could condense it more, but I can't. So just finishing up now with giving you the present moment now in life and where am I at and what's happening. So recently, my boyfriend and I had split up. We were together for actually 4 years. And the reason why I had called it quits was because he was actually cheating on me and with my best friend, and that was really devastating. I actually know my best friend too for about 3 to 4 years as well, and I didn't understand why I was once again sacrificing myself, being so loyal to people who were kind of, using me or would kind of hurt me. To be honest, I don't understand why they would hurt me, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm still healing over that, and I was really depressed. I felt like no one loved me at this point. I was at the lowest part of my life, this month, last month, and a few other months too. Um, but I really felt like no one had loved me, or I just couldn't be loved. Um, and no one would ever want to help me because I just was so damaged. And that was my belief. And I've been working on, thinking differently because I know that that's not true. Um, um, it feels so good to actually get this off my chest and to be free. For all these years, I finally feel free for getting this off my chest. And even if this doesn't touch not one person, at least it touched me. Um, I I'm not very good at telling people how I struggle. I'm more good at telling you how I'm a better person, how I can make you a better person. And you know, that's really all I want to focus on is the positive, the positive things in life. Um, but I'm in a really dark space right now, and I could use your help. I could really use your help and your love and your support. Um, I I currently do not have a job. I'm working on getting one right now, and my rent pretty much is $800, and I am behind because I've been depressed, um, really very very badly. I've been recently actually getting help with a counselor, so I am seeking, guidance as far as like getting the right type of help that I need. But I'm still struggling financially right now. Um, and I pretty much, have to pay my rent for this month, and I do not have it. And I'm stressed out because I do not want to be evicted from my place, because my landlord and I, uh, we don't really see eye to eye as it is. Well, the fact that, it's a business to them, and I understand that. But like I said, I'm really in a place where I could use some support and some help, and it's really hard for me to even ask and to be this vulnerable. But I hope that you guys really do understand that I really, really could use some help, and that I'm a good person. And for it being Thanksgiving today, I'm actually going to go ahead and give back to one of the soup kitchens here and volunteer my time, because I believe that it's so important that, even if you do feel broke or broken, that you still go ahead and try to help others out, because there's always a silver lining. I do believe that. I know that this is just temporary. I know that I'm going to go ahead and pick myself up, and, and pick up the others too who've been left behind. But first I need to help myself. And once again, I'm asking for pretty much $800 from my rent, as well as $200 from my my Comcast bill from last month's to this month's rent, or this month's bill being late. So that's a total of $1,000, you guys. And what I can do in return is to pretty much give back, as far as like helping out in my community, as far as like helping back at soup kitchens and volunteering my time. And that's exactly what I actually do, personally. Before all of this, I've always believed in giving back because I really want to be a leader and make a difference. I actually did go to school too, by the way. I did not stop, and I did not stop at just high school. I continued to college, and I am a fashion design student. So I definitely want to do some things with that too as well. I work with a lot of people here in the city, just off the back, knowing them, or not knowing them, excuse me, and just go ahead and doing photo shoots. I pretty much have a YouTube channel where I am called Cousin Calvin, an Instagram called Style by Surlay, and that's pretty much where you can reach me at. You can also reach me at my last name, Sirles73@gmail.com. That's SIRLES 73@gmail.com. I hope that you guys pretty much understand where I came from and where I'm trying to go now. Um, I really want to make an impact here in my community, in the LGBT community, as well as the Black Lives Matter, as well as Every Lives Matter. If you guys could just go ahead and please, please, please support me, I promise you that I will do the right thing, which is obviously what I've always been doing. And there is more parts of my life that I left out, but I didn't want to make this video too long, and I didn't want to bore you guys, I guess. And if there's anything else, please go ahead and don't hesitate to reach out to me. I really want to see the difference that I can make, and I know that I can make a difference, and I believe in myself, and I believe in others too, and I believe in making a change. So if you guys could once again support me, that'd be great. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that this was empowering for you guys and not self-pity for me or taking pity on me. Don't have any pity for me. I think that I know that I'm strong and that I'm going to make it. And so I thank you guys so much. And once again, my name's John Searles, and thank you so much for joining my GoFundMe page. All right, you guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye. Much love.